Welcome to the Cavaliers Sports Report. I'm your host, Mackenzie Moore, and today we have with us head basketball coach for the Cavaliers, Mike Jeffers. Mike, thanks for coming on today.
Good to be here.
And you guys just came off a game last night against State Fair Community College. You guys lost that one. You guys are 2-5 on the season. Could you describe that game last night?
Another very tough opponent. This one on the road. State Fair Community College in Sedalia, Missouri has always got a very, very tough men's basketball program. It's the first time we've played, though, in 10 years, and they're only an hour and a half away, so we need to get together more often. But, we got off to a slow start. We were down 12 to 14 points early, wound up being down a 14-point deficit going into the second half. Our guys really just hung in there, kept battling, playing good defense. We actually outscored them in the second half, 48-43. Wound up losing by 9, 83-74. Had good performances from probably about 4 or 5 guys in an environment that was very competitive. State Fair on the year, I'd say they're almost right there with Butler and Hutch and Neosho. I mean, they're very good. They're very good. So it was a good effort on our guys' part.
When I talked to Pat Jones and Preston Oaks before the season, they said that it was very likely that this team would have 5 starters pushing double figures in scoring. And so far this season, Pat Jones has led the way. Preston has been very consistent on points. And then usually you have a third player that just contributes. What do you think has prevented this team from getting that balanced scoring of having 5 starters with double figures?
I think it's attributed to 2 factors. One, the level of competition we're playing. They've kind of held some guys down. And then just, out of 12 players, we've only got one, Pat Jones, that has any, really collegiate experience. We've got 11 guys that haven't played college basketball. And a lot of things that you're able to do at the high school level, you get to the college level and you play the competition we play, then you start to have to figure out your game a little bit, and what you did in high school that worked may not necessarily be an offensive move or an offensive weapon at the college level just because of competition.
So far this season, despite the smaller lineup that you had, your team has come out fairly even on the rebounding. It's about less than 2 rebounds per game so far in the season. How will your team's effort on the boards transfer to wins as you go down the season?
Okay. Rebounding is a big part of the game. We have held our own. Like last night, we're facing a lineup that ran 2 7-footers at us, just like Hutch did with their big lineup. And our guys had just play with a lot of heart. I mean, we've got a lot of guys that, at their position, they're probably undersized. But the game of basketball to me has always been a game of quickness and speed. And you can offset that height disadvantage by a lot of effort, a lot of quickness, and a lot of speed. And it's much harder for a big guy, especially when you get a mismatch, to guard a smaller player. But a lot of times within a team concept, that smaller guy can figure out how to guard a bigger guy. And the rebounding, we'd like to be even. We know we're undersized, but the turnovers are even more important, and that's been a big factor. Last night our turnovers were down. We had fewer turnovers in State Fair, and that kind of helped keep us in the game because you got to get shots. And you can't score if you don't get shots.
When you guys faced Hutchinson, preseason number 4, obviously that was a game where you look at it on the calendar and at the beginning of the season that it's going to be a tough matchup. You guys took them into overtime, ended up losing 87-81. How do you look at that game in terms of taking a top-notch team like that in regulation tied, but then not being able to finish them off in the extra period?
Right. We knew Hutch, we've almost, with our schedule, especially first semester, you could circle every date on that calendar is going to be a tough opponent. But with Hutch, preseason number 4, we knew they had a lot of talent coming in. And, it was just one of those games where we trailed pretty much for 38 minutes of the game. We'd get down 10, we'd cut it to 6, they'd get it back to 8 or 9. And then we'd really, we pushed that last 2 minutes, got a 3-point lead, and we just didn't execute what we needed to. And, their big-time player that signed with Arizona makes their only 3 of the game to send it in overtime. I mean, you look at the tape, tough shot, 25-footer, off the dribble, going full speed, and he knocked it down, and you give him credit.
Coach Jeffers, thanks for coming on today.
No problem.
That's it for this edition of the Cavaliers Sports Report. I'm your host, Mackenzie Moore. Thanks for watching JCAV TV.